Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CKACS Fresno. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Today we're going to be talking about a school, an actual community school, the Armenian Community School of Fresno, but it's actually the Charlie Cahan Armenian Community School of Fresno with Principal Zardar Mugrdechian and Marshall, the board chair, Marshall Moushigian. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sevag.
I should say welcome back to the program. We had you on last year.
Yeah, a year and a half ago we were here.
So let's talk a little bit about, before we get into the school and the nitty-gritty, let's talk about your backgrounds. Marshall, tell us about yourself.
I was born and raised in Fresno. I'm an attorney. After I passed the bar exam, I lived in Armenia for 5.5 years. I occasionally write for the Fresno Bee on Armenian issues, and so when I was asked to be part of the school board, it seemed like a natural fit. I'm very involved and interested in Armenian issues, and certainly the Armenian school, part of the Armenian community, part of the nation of Armenia as a whole, is very important to me, and so I figured I'm happy to help out in that capacity by being part of the school.
How important is the school to the community? I mean, is this school even necessary? Some people will say, why have it?
I think it's very necessary. Fresno is one of the oldest diasporan communities in the world, very rich history here, and we feel that we are on par with the churches and other cultural and philanthropic organizations here in Fresno. What's nice about this school, what's important about this school really, is that we're taking the youngest aspects of this generation and educating them properly, making them into productive citizens in the global society with a strong understanding of Armenian culture. And Fresno being what it is as far as an Armenian city, it's very important to have a school strong and growing here.
But the students don't necessarily have to be Armenian. I went recently to the open house, I was impressed, by the way. I've always been impressed by the school, but when I went and actually saw the classrooms, I was even more impressed. But there are students from across the board there, so they don't all have to be Armenian.
You're absolutely right. It's not, the name is Armenian in the school, but you don't have to be Armenian to attend. The curriculum is your basic standard reading, writing, arithmetic, of course, but also with a strong focus on Armenian culture, Armenian language. And as I tell friends of mine, you know, your kids, when they get to high school, they'll learn Spanish, they'll learn French then, but because you're in Fresno, it's not a bad idea to speak Armenian or have an understanding of the language and the culture. So for non-Armenians to go to this school is a very positive step, I think, for them in their development here in Fresno.
And it's a nonprofit, right? The school is a nonprofit?
That's correct. That's right. Yeah, we're a 501c3.
Principal Czar, tell us about yourself. I mean, you come from a line of educators, I think, because your brother is also a teacher, but tell us about yourself.
Well, actually, my mom was too. She taught Sunday school all of her life, and she actually ended later in life going back to Fresno State and pursuing a teaching credential. I've grown up in Fresno. I went to Roosevelt High School in Fresno State and graduated, and I've always wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. And luckily, with Fresno Unified, that's what I did for my career. I had a long career. It was very satisfying, and I retired. And this opportunity came up to become principal at the Armenian school, and I said, you know, I've known a lot of principals. Maybe I can take the best of what I have learned and put it to use. And I'm hoping that that's true. I've really enjoyed being there. This will be my 5th year coming up, and I've really learned a lot and enjoy being there.
You retired from education and you've taken on this task. It's a great task, but it's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. But I see the passion. I mean, you're everywhere, Principal Czar. I mean, you do a lot of things. What is it about this that's kind of, you know, it's a fire in you? I mean, you're passionate about this.
I love it. I enjoy being with kids very much. This gave me another angle. I can go into the classrooms. I can see what they're learning. I know all of the kids' names. I can help teachers to become better at what they're doing. We have young teachers, we have veteran teachers. We just are doing such an excellent job that I like to go and then check out to see if the lawn is growing right, or if something else needs to be done, then I'm there to help that. That's the kind of personality I think I have. If I'm doing something, I go all out.
This is kind of off topic, but you know, when I was younger, I remember seeing your brother, Professor Barlow der Mugrdechian, and I think it was your mom on TV one day teaching people how to make
How to cook.
Armenian food. So here we are years
There you
later,
are.
we're in a studio and I'm interviewing you. So
That's true. She did that quite a few times at Fresno State. We have good pictures to share on that one.
So recently there was an open house at the school, and I went to this open house, and I'm glad I did because I got a first-hand experience of what the school is about. Either of you, can you tell us about your your nursery, your school there?
Our earliest grades are 2 years old to 4.5 up until kindergarten. And our pre-K has a fabulous program. We've got 2 wonderful large rooms. We're accredited through NIAC, which is a nationally known group that is for early education. And with that, we have 10 standards we have to meet, whether it's parent or teacher education, the room arrangement, the food that they eat, the climate in the classroom. Everything is accounted for. And the kids come and they're immersed in Armenian and English. All of the 4 teachers know both languages. So the kids, whether they're Armenian or not, come out at the end of the year reciting, singing, enjoying both languages. And you know, Sevag, the research shows that if kids learn a language, it benefits them in their academic growth. So to learn any language is an asset, and it helps you, it stimulates the brain to grow. And so we're starting really early. We're giving them a fine education and I'm prepping them for kindergarten and also for the rest of their lives.
And the room was so organized when I got there. I mean, I got in and I thought, oh, this brings back memories of my childhood.
Oh,
and
great.
so although I never went to school at the Armenian Community School, you know, I went and I was impressed because it looks like an actual school. I mean, the classrooms are set up like an actual school. So some people may say, oh, it's just a nonprofit or whatever they may say, but no. I mean, the setup was exactly like I recall when I was a kid.
Well, one of the things we're working on, pushing the school forward, is getting people's perception of the school properly focused. We have people that don't even know the school exists, and these are Armenians that have lived here all their lives. To the extent they do know about the school, a lot of them have a misperception of us. They think that we're perhaps a school where, you know, the hardcore Armenians send their children. Clearly, that's not the case. This is a school that's accredited through pre-K all the way up through 6th grade. And you know, just on a side note, our accreditation, maintaining that accreditation is now part of our bylaws. This is not something that came easy to us, and it's not something that's easy to maintain.
Right.
But the benefit to the school and the community is very important. So we focus on making sure that our accreditations are up to date. But getting the word out to the school, to the community as a whole, as to what we do as far as educating students, is very important. Getting them to understand that we are a top quality private school. Our test scores are through the roof, for starters, but so many other aspects of our curriculum lend itself to people understanding that we're a top quality school. One of the drawbacks is that we are currently still in our temporary classrooms, as you saw when you came. But like most people who are like you, that they came and saw those temporary classrooms and seeing, well, they're trailers in a sense, but when you walk in, it's something different. You have the Promethean boards, you've got the laptops, you have all the learning resources and materials from books to learning guides. So the quality of education is top-notch, along with the technology that we employ to make sure that those teachers have the best tools to educate our kids. The teachers are the delivery mechanism for education. Their job is to teach. But the flip side of that is for the kids to learn. We want to make sure the environment is good for them to learn. And we see that from our kids, whether it's the test scores, whether they're out and about at public functions, for example, flag raising for the genocide centennial. The kids are out in a lot of places this year. So
Test
very
scores.
well-rounded.
I want you to talk about test scores a little bit because there may be some misconception out there that, oh, you know, if I send my kids to public school, they have a better education than the Armenian Community School. But you just said something in the stuff that you mentioned, their test scores are high. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, we have our standardized tests that we focus on every year, the Iowa 7 assessment tests. And our school overall is either at proficient or advanced, which is very good. Just looking at our 6th graders, for example, their overall ranking I believe, is up to the 8th grade at this point, on the
Right.
high end of the 8th grade, whereas last year they were on the high end of the 7th
Well,
grade.
that's impressive. I mean, they're above their grade level.
They
Oh,
are
absolutely.
two grade
Yeah.
levels.
And it's
right.
not just their mental intelligence and how much they've been able to absorb and to regurgitate on a test, but the way they hold themselves in public, the level of confidence and articulation. And going back to what Principal Czar said about language skills, along with that, with our music and performing arts program that we have, when children are exposed to music and such, and performing arts, visual arts and such, at an early age, that also helps to expand their mind,
Absolutely.
to be able to absorb more, learn better. Efficiency is the key. These kids need to learn as much as they can, as fast as they can, to build a very solid foundation that's going to last them throughout their career at our school, middle school, high school, college, and beyond.
One thing that I noticed right away when I got there is the classroom style size, because, you know, you're talking a lot of individual attention between the teacher and students. And I say that because over the years, there's been some criticism over some of the public schools that the classroom sizes are way too large. I got to the community school, and I'm going to be honest, I was looking for that. I was like, okay, so how many chairs are set up? How many students are going to be in here?
Right,
And I
exactly.
thought, wow, impressive, because, you know, some had 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Others had more, others had less. But either of you talk a little bit about classroom style size and the individual attention the students get.
We're committed to keeping classroom sizes to no more than 20, and we will keep to that. And some of our classes, we're almost there. There's going to be waiting lists in the next year at least. Pre-K, we're going to probably close it very soon because we're right at our limit. And second grade has 17. Some of the other grades have 12. So we're getting very close to our maximum desired numbers. And so we're going to have some parents that are disappointed if they don't really register soon.
And, you know, how does that make you feel, Principal Czar? Because, you know, you've been there 5 years now, you said. Have the numbers increased over the years? And how are things going? Which direction?
Oh, they are growing. It's really exciting. I was just telling Marshall on the way here that this year for pre-K, if we really max out, and I know we are, that will really be a cornerstone. And our growth plan is to grow the enrollment so that we can go on and do what we really want to do, and that is to build that permanent building and show our community that we are growing, that our kids do graduate from our school and move on to fantastic careers, go to excellent colleges, and really become products of our system.
The way to the school from my house was fairly easy. I took the freeway, got off on Herndon, and it was very close there. So talk about where the school is located and the ease of getting there.
Our school is located in Clovis, right on the cusp of Clovis and Fresno. It's on Villa between Herndon and Sierra, and it is a good location. It is a little bit further east, perhaps, than some people might like it, but going down Herndon, they get there very nicely. And there might be plans to have a school bus that could go around and pick up some kids that do live on the far west side of town. So the board is looking into that.
And one of the things I noticed, I was at home one day and I went to my mail and got my stack of mail and I brought it. And I noticed a newspaper-like fashion publication that came from the Armenian school, and I chuckled because I'm a fan of newspapers and I'm a fan of reading material like that. Either of you talk about what this is, and is it going to continue? Was it a one-time thing?
No, it's been revived, the Otagoc newspaper. In fact, I brought a copy with me. We've been very fortunate. We've got a very strong board, a very active board. This is the newspaper, and I'll kind of show the cameras here. But this is a fully fledged newspaper with newsprint, newspaper, articles that are written,
Very
an
impressive, by
advertisement.
the way. Very impressive.
And so what we're doing is we've revived this. One of our board members, Shant Yemenjian, has been very instrumental in getting this up and running. I've enjoyed writing for the newspaper. We've been very fortunate with Annette Paxton as far as our printing. And part of of course, if we don't have anybody to send this to, it doesn't do much
Right.
good. And so one of the things that we've been working on this year, almost exactly a year now, is our outreach committee. There's a lot of people out there that, if asked, will support our school and take part in its growth. We have to reach them. And so we've been building our databases broader and deeper, more names and more parameters on why those people might be beneficial to us and how it can be a good relationship. And so we've been mailing this out. The goal is 3 times a year. This year, this is only our first edition because of with everything going on with the genocide centennial commemoration the first half of the year, it put us sort of behind a little bit. So this is our first edition for this year. We had one last year, and we're shooting for 3 per year. And it's very informative, very interesting. I like reading it, and our readers enjoy reading it as well.
May I chime in and
Sure.
say that there's articles about our alumni. We have some writings of current students.
True.
We have about the teachers. We talk about our benefactors. We try to cover all of the facets in our school, and we'll continue to search out new materials and new articles for the upcoming one.
Having these students actually write material for the newspaper, I think that was a great concept, because if I'm going to send my kids there, or if I'm going to invest in the school and I see the product, the outcome, and it was very good, I thought, you know, what a cute newspaper. It was nice to get.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, the students that write for the newspaper, I mean, this is a legitimate form of publication and public relations for us. This is not being done as a favor to students who might want to write an article. If they're going to write something, it's going to be critiqued and be up to snuff to be published and read online and throughout the community. So we don't have any problems finding quality writers. Granted, a lot of the board members do a lot of the writing anyway for the articles, but when we do have a student or students write, it has to be quality, and we don't have that problem.
You have a variety on your board, by the way. I know Mr. Shanyam Enjan, and I know several people on the board, and it's not just one niche. I mean, you've got someone in law enforcement, you've got an architect, you've got a CPA. I mean, you've got a wide
Fantastic
variety of
program.
people that are bringing their own knowledge, so congratulations.
And that's
on
not by accident, that's actually by design. We realize that with a board that that covers all those areas, we can be a lot more productive. The goal of being on this board, and the board itself, is to help the school advance and make sure that what Principal Czar has for the vision of the school is moving forward. And so having somebody who is in law enforcement, who's a CPA, project management, architecture, technology, information technology, education, all those things. We have a very diverse group of people that's really beneficial overall to the board and to the school as a whole.
Principal Czar, what are some of the goals for these students? I mean, we talked earlier about your first group of students, but you know, what is the ultimate goal? Are you getting these students ready for life, for college, for what?
I think with our broad-based curriculum and in all of the areas, whether it's science, health, language arts, mathematics, social studies, that brings about a lot of growth. But we have added dimensions. We have the language, which we talked about. And I do want to say that our regular classes are conducted in English. We have specialists in Eastern and Western Armenian that come into the classrooms, and the parents get to choose which segment of the Armenian language they would like to learn. So that's a segment that comes in every day. We have music. Every child at our school learns about music theory, how to read music, and we end up by having a 4th to 6th grade band. We also have choral music, so that again broadens their knowledge about music in another way. All of these things, and the art program. We have a fabulous art teacher, Vartuhi Diaryan. She comes in, and once a week the children are with her. They learn about artists of the world, and then they create art, and we have art shows. And we had an art show in Los Angeles last year. We had one at the City Hall. We had one at St. Paul. There are many venues that would like to see the kids' art. They're really fabulous. And all of this just helps all the kids use all of their modalities to become the type of learner that will continue throughout their life. And they're fabulous. And not only that, I have to continue. We have lots of offers for the kids to perform, singing, recitation. And each time they do this, their confidence is built. And when our kids get up, they know how to stand in front of people. They have self-confidence. And the ultimate is their 6th grade speech at the year-end HON test.
Oh, that's got to be fun. That's got to
It
be
It's
is
impressive.
an amazing group. Last year we had 12. Each one got 2 to 3 minutes to come up to share their thoughts. How clearly they spoke, how well they spoke is amazing.
Yeah.
What are the parents saying? What are the reasons that the parents are bringing their students to the school? Because, you know, it could be easy for them to just pack the kid up on a bus and
Right.
send them to the public school, or in some cases, have the kid walk to the public school. But,
Exactly.
you know, they're making an effort to bring their child to the Charlie K. and Armenian Community School. What are the reasons?
Well, a lot of things. Certainly, the quality of education. That's paramount. Everything else is sort of secondary, but equally also important. As Principal Czars talked about, the music program, the arts program, visual and performing arts, the sports teams, the sense of community. This is Fresno, as we know, and there's a strong Armenian base here, and a lot of people know each other. And there's a comfort level that's involved in that. Safety is also important. You know, we have our security cameras. All the teachers and the staff have walkie-talkies. They're always in contact with each other. So these are things that are important to the parents. We know this is important to the parents because we're doing a visioning survey currently to find out what's important to parents as we move forward. But ultimately, at the end of the day, parents send their children to school, whether it's public or private, for one reason, that's to learn. And our test scores show that clearly. Very important.
What other classes do you have? I mean, you talked about, you know, the sixth graders, but break down the different levels or grade
Sure.
levels.
Okay, well, we have a kindergarten class, a TK, which is the transitional kindergarten, and the kindergarten class, a first grade, a second grade, a third grade, fourth and fifth are together, and then the sixth grade class.
And so, are you finding that the students that come in from the beginning are staying with the school? I mean, talk a little bit about the student makeup.
Our advantage also, and Marshall mentioned many things, but because the parents start connecting so closely, our parents, through the PTC, which is the parent club, or just because their kids are friends from whatever neighborhood they are, they become so close that they like to come to our school too. In fact, the moms and dads come and they spend an extra 10 or 15 minutes every morning talking to each other and just having a great time. And you can't hardly get them to go to work.
We're going to open up a Starbucks franchise on the school campus, I think, and take advantage of it.
Right, and we encourage that because for parents to come and feel comfortable and warm and accepted, it is an amazing feeling. At public schools, you drop the children off and you go home. Very rarely, sometimes you do, but rarely do you really get a real sense of community. Ours, it's not just the kids who want to stay all day long,
Parents.
but the parents do too.
And I was going to mention that because I know that the parents that send their kids to the school, the parents have this bond. You mentioned it. I was going to touch on it, but I've noticed that, you know,
Absolutely.
the parents start hanging out too when the
do.
kids are hanging out,
They
which,
do.
you know, it's nice to see because nowadays you don't get that.
You know, you talked about the grades and what different grade levels we have. One of the trends that we've noticed the last 3 years, I'll say, is that it used to be after pre-K, the parents would send their kids off to kindergarten in the public schools because at that point it's free. We're noticing a lot more pre-K students sticking around for kindergarten, and once they have crossed that line to kindergarten, then we see generally them staying all the way through sixth
Right.
grade. And that's really a testament to the stability and the guidance that Principal Czar has on a daily basis at our school, guiding the curriculum, guiding the students and the staff. As I tell people, she has a very deep keel in the water. She's focused, she doesn't waver, and that's very important to any school, certainly to ours, to have a strong leader at the front.
And with her background in education, I mean, she's seen it, she's lived it, she's
Certainly.
grew up with it, it
Right.
sounds like. So I think, Principal Czar, you bring a very unique perspective to the school. So where do you see the school in 10 years?
Oh, I see a wonderful vision in 10 years. I really do. I think that we're heading in that direction now. I'm excited to be a part of it. I really feel that we will have an excellent physical building to house our kids. Something that will be state of the art, something that won't be huge but will be livable within our budgetary needs and for the maximum number of kids that we want for each grade level. And it's going to be something that everyone will want to come to, everybody.
We are running out of time this week on the program, but along with construction costs, they can be very expensive. People can donate to you. Tell us how they can donate and get in touch with the school.
Well, certainly. One of the things we're focusing on is our 40th anniversary of the school, Focus on 40. And we're doing a visioning survey so that before we go out and ask people to participate in the growth of the school, we want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as quality of our education, the results, and development of our school. We were very fortunate about a year and a half ago. We were left about a $1.3 million bequest.
Congratulations.
So we've been able to re-establish our endowments. But right now, we have over $1 million in our building fund. We're over 20% of the way there. And so that's very important for us. We are going to be building, that's for sure. Wills, leaving, bequeathing money to the school, certainly doing it while you're still alive is not frowned upon. Contacting the school is one way, but there's certainly good ways of doing that. We are going to be having a new website. They'll have a donate button.
Right.
You can add to that as well, I think.
Absolutely. And we have a fabulous new event, September the 19th, the 50s and 60s night. It's going to be a lot of fun, a fun way to donate to the school and come out to the Armenian community, Armenian home, and have a fantastic evening.
And what was the date of that?
It's September the 19th. It's a Saturday night. If you call our number at 323-1955, we can give you more information. A car show, movie stars.
From the 50s and 60s, a lot of people are going to be out there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, congratulations. It sounds like the school's headed a wonderful direction. I can personally say I've seen the classrooms, and it looks, all I got to say is watch out, because this school is growing and there's some great things happening.
And the key word in our school is community. And we are a community school, and we appreciate the community's assistance as we grow forward.
Well, we're out of time this week on the program. Easily we could have filled another couple of hours talking about the school, but Marshall Moushigian, thank you. Principal Zardar Mugrdechian, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. Thank you to the volunteer crew that make this production and every production possible. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you to the audience members listening on 90.7 FM KFSR Fresno, and those of you watching on Comcast 93 and AT&T 99, the CMAC channels. Thank you for tuning in this week, and of course, thank you to our guest that educated us about the Armenian Community School in Fresno, the Charlie Kayan Armenian Community School in Fresno. That's all for this edition. Tune in next week to a new edition.